So what is Linux Mint? Well, Linux Mint is a Linux distro based on Ubuntu, which is in turn based on Debian. Now, there's also a Linux Mint version called Linux Mint Debian Edition, which is directly based off of Debian. So that's an additional option, alternative option that's available too. Now, Linux Mint is supposedly geared towards Windows users because it's a traditional desktop and it's meant to feel more familiar for people coming from Windows, and a lot of people say that it is. Now, I think Ubuntu or other distros are also pretty friendly too. But anyways, that you don't really need the terminal for everyday use. So a lot of people say that about Linux, like, oh, you have to be a command line expert. You can really do everyday stuff with Linux Mint without even touching the terminal, unless there's some emergency or something goes wrong, or it doesn't hurt to be able to use the terminal for like automating things and power user stuff. But for regular everyday use, you don't need the terminal with Linux Mint. There's so much easy stuff with it and so many easy tools and things to help you. It's really easy. Now, Linux Mint is generally viewed as a user-friendly beginner distro. So the other main feature about Linux Mint is that it's meant to be batteries included and everything just works by default. It's convenient, easy, and nice to use. Now, if you want to see my full detailed review of Linux Mint, check out my other video that I've linked in the description of this video. So check the description, check that link for my full thing where I cover all the features and show you how everything looks inside Linux Mint. A lot more than I'm going to cover in this video. So this video, I'm just telling you what it is. Now, so with Linux Mint, one of the main things that sets it apart, besides being user-friendly and all that, are the desktops. There are three main desktops. Now, the first one, basically like their flagship desktop, is the Cinnamon desktop. Beautiful desktop. Really, it's a traditional desktop. It doesn't have any of these modern things that came with the new version of GNOME. It doesn't look like Mac OS. It's a more traditional desktop. I guess that's why they say it's similar to Windows, and it's very easy to use. So it was developed by the Mint team. So the team that created Linux Mint actually created the Cinnamon desktop to have a nice desktop because they didn't like the direction GNOME was going in. So the Cinnamon desktop is based on GNOME 3 and it uses GTK 3. Now, the second desktop they have is called Mate. Mate is also developed by the Linux Mint team. It was developed before Cinnamon, and it's based on GNOME 2, and it was gradually transitioned to GTK 3. So even though it's GNOME 2 based, they transitioned it to GTK 3. Now, the third desktop is XFCE. This is a common desktop it's somewhat low on resources. People view it as being light, although these days it's getting more and more heavyweight, but it's a popular option. So those are the three main options. You can download each of these editions of Linux Mint, and they'll all be Ubuntu based, plus there's also the Debian based one, and you can probably download it probably any desktop you want. You can add on to Linux Mint, but those are the three main ones that they have editions for. Now, Cinnamon is, so as I said, it's really like the flagship edition. It's really their main desktop that they're focused on. It's them doing it the way they really wanted to do it. They built it the way they really wanted. So even though they built both Mate and Cinnamon, Mate, they did it really quick just to clone GNOME 2 because they didn't like GNOME 3. And then with Cinnamon, they did it right and took everything from GNOME 3, but did it the right way, the way they thought is right. So Cinnamon and Mate exist as a reaction to the direction that the GNOME desktop was going in, and they're designed to be more traditional and less progressive than the new GNOME, basically. So the login window, right? So it is using a display manager called LightDM, and on top of that, they have a greeter. It's the login screen front end. I think it's called Slick Greeter, and it's a LightDM greeter developed by the Linux Mint team. They developed that as well. So Linux Mint, as of, it uses X11 by default as of Linux Mint version 22.1. In the future, they're probably going to switch over to Wayland, but X11 for now, because it just works on most systems, and Wayland just does not. Sometimes it just doesn't work at all. When it does work, it's smoother and nicer, but it doesn't have all the same features. That's a whole other just discussion for another video, though. So Cinnamon uses a window manager. So the Cinnamon desktop uses the window manager Muffin. Now, Muffin was forked from Mutter, which is used by GNOME, and Mutter was in turn forked from Metacity, which is the older window manager commonly used for GNOME, for the GNOME desktop. So let's talk about the included software. So there's a lot of stuff that comes out of the box, and even when you, like a lot of stuff that comes pre-installed by default and you generally don't select it during the installation process, it just makes it easy for you, gives you like common sense defaults that make sense. Not super slim and trimmed down like some other things. It's not like installing Arch, but I think it's pretty reasonable for your average desktop user. And so it comes obviously with the terminal, and it's going to have GNOME terminal by default. They didn't create their own terminal. Comes with their file manager, Nemo. I like that one a lot. It's convenient. It's the way a file manager should be. They didn't try to make it too progressive. They didn't remove things so that you can't really access the stuff the way you want to. They made it really good the way a file manager should be. I like Nemo myself. So the file renamer tool. They have a bulk file renamer tool, a graphical bulk file renamer tool. Of course, you can easily do that on the command line, but they made a graphical one. Nice power tool to use there. And Office, they included like the whole LibreOffice suite. So you've got that there if you want a desktop Office system, if you're not using Office in the cloud or whatever. So that's all installed by default. You don't have to choose that separately. They include some graphics viewing things so you can view images, but they did not include the GIMP by default. Still, all you have to do is click on the Software Center, search for GIMP, and install it. It's super fast and easy, but they didn't include it by default, which is reasonable. Personally, it's something that I install on every computer I have, whether it be Linux, Windows, Mac OS, whatever. I'm installing a GIMP. But anyways, there's a bunch of other stuff included by default, lots of accessories and utilities, and a bunch of stuff. And there's even more in the repo. The repo is like an endless list of tons of packages you can install. So much software in the repo that you can add that just hasn't been installed by default, but it's super easy to search for and install. Now, in terms of software management, Linux Mint uses apt, the apt package manager, and it uses deb packages, .deb packages from Debian, which is also what Ubuntu uses. And Ubuntu also uses snaps together with apt. Now, Linux Mint got rid of snaps. That a lot of people don't like them. They're controversial. Linux Mint got rid of them and transitioned some of the things that Ubuntu had made as snaps. They transitioned them back to being .deb packages and distributed with apt. And they also use Flatpaks and FlatHub. So in a lot of cases, you can choose whether you want a Flatpak or a system package, which is the .deb package that you're going to get with the apt package manager. So you can choose system package or Flatpak. And when you go into the Software Center, even when you click on a package, even if it'll show you two versions of it, you can choose which one to click on. If you click on one, it'll still give you a little button with a little drop down so you can switch it to the other. So if you clicked on the system package from apt, you can switch it to a Flatpak or vice versa. So a lot of great options there. They really made it convenient and wanted to put the control in your hands. So they didn't want to like force snaps down your throat, and they're not forcing Flatpaks down your throat either. So pretty nice. Now, they have a beautiful Software Center, really great. They also have a separate update manager where you can schedule your updates and manage how you want that to work. And you can check which repos you use. Now they have a repo for Mint specific packages, and then they have the base repo for Ubuntu packages. So you're pulling from the Ubuntu repo for some of the base stuff that's common to Mint and Ubuntu, but then you also have a Mint specific repo that your package manager and your update manager use. Now, so no snaps by default. You could still install snaps on Mint if you wanted to, but with what they provide, you really don't need to, and you may as well not on Mint, right? Not saying that I'm not a snap hater. They have their place and they have their value, but Linux Mint gets rid of them, and it's great the way they did things. And you could argue both ways for Flatpaks versus snaps. Now, proprietary NVIDIA drivers can be installed very easily with the driver manager GUI. So there's a graphical tool for managing drivers. So on my NVIDIA system, I just went in, opened that up, and it shows, right there, we got the open source drivers, which have low performance comparatively. Then it has an option where you just click a button and hit install to install the proprietary NVIDIA drivers. It's that easy. Just click a button, install, and then bounce your system just to make sure. But super easy to install the proprietary drivers. So really convenient and easy. Linux Mint is a super easy, convenient system. Great for beginners and great for anyone who wants to just have a system that gets up and running and works, gives you everything you want. So instead of focusing on tinkering with your system, you can just get to work and actually get things done and do actual real work. course, if you want to tinker, you still can on Linux Mint, but that's what Linux Mint is. Super easy, practical distribution, great for beginners, great for advanced users who just want something practical that just works. That's Linux Mint. They give you a lot of control too. So, thumbs up from me, but, yeah, that should pretty much answer that question. So if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our other videos. We're going to be reviewing a lot more distros. This is generally a very Linux-centric channel, but we're not just about Linux. We do Windows, Mac OS, stuff like that too. Probably more Linux than anything. Just more stuff. I don't know. That's just how the channel has gone. We do a lot of other stuff: coding, software, hardware, Raspberry Pis, robots, servers, networking, 3D printing, all that kind of stuff. If you like that stuff in your YouTube feed, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Also, maybe you want to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And remember, check the link in the description to see my full review and demo of the Linux Mint, of the newest Linux Mint as of recording this video. And you might want to give me a thumbs up for this video, but that's about it for today. So hopefully you found this useful or interesting. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on that next video.